Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome back. We are very close to being able to read anything in Sanskrit as well as writing anything in Sanskrit. But before we get to that step, let's review the answers to last week's quiz. So these are the questions where I had you read the words in Devanāgarī and transcribe what they are written as. And if you did it correctly, the first word is kshama. Kshama means forgiveness. Number 2 is Gayatri. Gayatri is the demigoddess personification of the Vedic literature. It is also the name of the chant or the mantra that is chanted by the Brahmanas. The third word is Jagannatha. Jagannatha means the Lord of the universe. And the last is Panchatattva. Panchatattva has two meanings. The first meaning is the 5 elements of the earth, but also the Panchatattva deities are Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Acharya, Sri Gadadhara Pandita, and Srivasa Acharya. And then, of course, the second half of the quiz is having you write these words in Devanāgarī. So if you did it correctly, your answers should look like these. The first is Srimati, which is an honorific title for a female. The second word, Chakra, means wheel. Also in terms of Krishna Lila, Chakra is the divine disc weapon that Sri Krishna holds, Sudarshana Chakra. The third word is Ganga Putra. Ganga is the goddess of the river, the Ganges River. And Putra means the son. So the son of the Ganges River, which is Bhishma. And the last is Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi is the consort of Lord Vishnu. So now we're going to learn the letter Ra. We're going to learn all about this very peculiar consonant. So why are we having one whole lesson based on the letter Ra? Well, in English, the letter E is the most frequently used letter. Likewise, in Sanskrit, Hindi, and many North Indian languages, the letter Ra is used the most. With the letter Ra, we have some unusual combinations when we combine it with vowels, specifically with Ru, or with the U to get Ru, with the long U to get Ru, and with the retroflex letter R to get R. The half-letter form of Ra when you're trying to form consonant clusters, when you're starting a consonant cluster with Ra, is very peculiar. And when the cluster has Ra taking the second half of it, its form is also very peculiar. So therefore, we have a whole lesson dedicated to the peculiarities of this letter that you'll see very often in Sanskrit, Hindi, or whatever North Indian language you're trying to study. So first, let's do the vowel combinations. Since our study started off with vowel combinations, I think the best way to approach it is by doing vowel combinations. So if you're combining R with U to get Ru, the short U sound, what we do is we draw the letter Ra, but we have a hook that stems to the right of it. So this is how you write the letter Ru. When you combine the long U with the letter Ra, you get Ru. It looks like the letter Ra with the shape of the long U sound, but instead of it being below the letter, it's right next to the letter. So you have Ru, the long Ru sound. We're going to talk about mixing R with R in just a bit. But first, let's discuss when you have consonant clusters that start with the letter Ra. When we talked about half-letter forms with sticked letters, we always took the stick out. But we didn't talk about what to do with the letter Ra. And the reason why we didn't talk about the letter Ra is that it takes on a very different shape. A shape that's not even recognizable unless you were taught this. So the half-letter form of Ra is a symbol called the repha, which is a hook shape that you see right now. If you see this hook shape above the horizontal crossbar, that means it's a consonant cluster that starts with ra. So if you were trying to make a consonant cluster and you see the letter ya with a ref on top of it, you'll see that this letter is pronounced as ria. Ria. Here's another example. If you see ma with a ref on top of it, you'll know that this is pronounced as rma. Rma. When you combine the letter ra with the vowel r to get this very rare combination, this takes on a very different approach to adding vowels. Normally when you add vowels to consonants, we use diacritic markings of the vowel. But in this case, we use the diacritic marking of the consonant to the vowel shape to get r. R. There's only 3 or 4 words in Sanskrit that uses this combination, and you'll see this in the quiz coming up. So what we've seen so far is how to draw consonant clusters that start with ra. But how do we handle consonant clusters that end with ra? So what if we want to say pra or gra? How do we do that? Well, we have to examine what kind of letter starts the consonant cluster. If we have a letter that has a vertical line built into the letter, what we do is we draw a diagonal line on the bottom to get the ra sound. So we have pra. If we want to change ga to gra, we draw the diagonal line on the bottom, like this, to get gra. If you want to change ga to kra, we would do the same thing. Now you're probably thinking that ga does not have that vertical bar, and that is true, it does not. But it has a full vertical line in the letter. It's inside the letter. You see it's right in the middle of the letter. So therefore it does constitute as the rule for this algorithm. So if you want to change ka to kra, we can also draw the line in the middle of the letter to get kra. As I mentioned in the last lesson, there's a special shape for kra. This is also acceptable to write as kra as well. So these are 2 different forms of the same letter. But what if the letter that starts the cluster does not have that vertical bar? How do we handle that? What we do is we draw a double diagonal line. It looks like an upside down V, and that's placed beneath the letter. So from da, we get dra. Da, we draw an upside down V shape beneath the letter ta to get tra. Now I can proudly tell you that with these lessons, everything from lesson 1 all the way through this point in this lesson, you can read and write anything in classical Sanskrit. Anything from Puranas to the Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita. You can read and write anything that's on there now. However, for Vedic Sanskrit, there are a few things that I did not include up to this point. We will get to that in the next lesson. As well as Hindi and Urdu, or I should say specifically Hindi, Marathi, and some of the North Indian languages. There are also some letters that are not in the Devanāgarī alphabet, the traditional alphabet that is, that we'll discuss in the next lesson. But for now, we can read and write anything in classical Sanskrit. So let's take a moment to celebrate that by doing some practice exercises. So first, we're going to write the name Prabhupada. So again, you're going to break this down by syllable, and if you listen carefully, you'll see that there are 4 syllables. Pra, bhu, pa, and da. So the next step is you're going to transcribe each of these syllables into Devanāgarī, and let's begin with the first syllable, pra. It's a consonant cluster that has ra in it. So what we need to do is we need to first look at the first letter of the cluster, which is pa. Note that pa has a vertical line in the letter, so therefore to write the ra to follow, you just draw one little diagonal line to get pra. The second syllable is bhu. We start off by writing the letter bha, but since it has the short u sound, we put the little loop symbol below to get bhu. Next, we have the letter pa, but since it has a long ah sound, we draw a vertical line to the right of the letter pa to get pa. And then the last syllable is da. There are no vowel markings that we need to do because there's no vowels or any modifications done to the letter da, so we write it as is. No anuswaras or visargas here. So when we write Prabhupada, it looks like this in Devanāgarī. And Prabhupada literally means the feet of the Lord, but it is the honorific title to the spiritual master, and we know the spiritual master of ISKCON as Srila Prabhupada. The next word is Brahmana. So if you listen carefully, there are 3 syllables. Bra, Hma, and Ra. So we transcribe each of these syllables into Devanāgarī. So the first syllable you see is a consonant cluster with Ra in it. So first thing we need to do is write the first letter, which is Ba. And we know that there's a vertical line in the letter. So to represent the Ra sound to get Bra, we draw a diagonal line to get Bra. But it has a long Ah sound. So we draw a vertical line to the right to get Bra. Second syllable is Ma. It's a combination between Ha and Ma, and it uses this special character that we discussed back in lesson 16. No vowel markings or anything special to the Hma letter, so we leave it as is. And the last letter is Ra. Again, no vowel markings or anything special that we need to do since there's no vowels associated with Ra. No anuswaras or visargas. So we combine those 3 characters together fusing their crossbars, and we get Brahmana. Brahmana is the name of the priestly, the saintly class that acts as educators to the other classes. Now we're going to write the name Dhritarashtra. So again, we're going to break this down by syllable, and if you listen carefully, you'll see that there are 4 syllables. Dhr, Ta, Ra, and Shtra. So as always, the next step is we're going to transcribe each of these syllables. So the first syllable is Dhr. So to write this properly, we first need to write the letter Dha. And then since it has the retroflex vowel R to it, we show that by the little C shape below the letter to get Dhr. Second syllable is Ta. No vowel modifications done to it, so we just write the letter Ta that we know. The third syllable is Ra. To write Ra, we write the letter Ra first, followed by the long Ah symbol to the right to get Ra. And then finally we have a consonant cluster of Sha, Da, and Ra. A 3 consonant cluster situation here. So first we draw the Sha, followed by the Ta, but since Ta is the one that's directly linked with the Ra, we can write Ta in its full form. And when you combine Sha and Ta together, you can also get this special form of Shta. But it's not Shta, we want Shtra. Since Ta does not have a vertical line in the letter, we have to use the upside down V shape to represent Ra to get Shtra. There are no vowel modifications done to the syllable Shtra, so we leave it as is. Once again, no anuswaras or visargas found in this word. So this is how you write the name Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra is the paternal uncle of the Pandavas and is the father of the 100 Kauravas headed by Duryodhana. Also, if you look at the origin of the word, Dhrita means the one that bears, and Rashtra means the nation or country. So Dhritarashtra literally means the one that bears or holds the country. Let's read this word. So again, the first step when reading Devanāgarī words is we break them down by character. And you see that there are 4 distinct characters shown right here. Then we transcribe each character separately. So first character we have is the letter G. But below the letter G, you see the symbol for the short U sound. So you write Gu. The second character is what we learned today in this lesson. You see that it's the letter Ra, but it has a hook that comes off to the right. The Ra with a hook that comes off to the right is a symbol for Ru. Short U. Ru. The next character is the letter Pa with the long U sound beneath it. So it's pronounced as Boo. And then lastly, we have the letter Ja, but you see an extra vertical line to the right of the Ja, which means that it's the long Ah sound. So it's Ja. We don't have any anuswaras or visargas here, so we don't need to worry about that. And if you combine those syllables together, you get Guru Puja. Guru Puja. This means the worship of the spiritual master. Let's read this word over here. So again, we break them down by characters, and you can clearly see there are 3. 1, 2, and 3. Then we transcribe each of these. So the first character, you see the letter Da, but you also see an upside down V-shaped built into the letter Da. So it's not just Da, it's Dra. With the letter Dra, we have a vowel marking, which is a vertical line to the right, followed by 2 line segments that stem out. So we have O, that's the symbol of O. So Dra becomes Dro. The next letter is Pa. Note that there's no vowel markings or any modifications done to the letter Pa, so we write Pa as is. And the last letter is the letter Da, but to the right of Da, we have the symbol that represents the long E sound. So we have D. Once again, no anuswaras and visargas. And if you read this correctly, you get the name Draupadi. Draupadi literally means the female descendant of the king Drupada, but Draupadi is well known to be the wife of the 5 Pandavas. Let's translate, let's read this very complicated looking word. So you see that there are many characters here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 characters in this very lengthy word. I don't think we had any word so far that had more than 5 characters. But this is good practice because when we do our reading examples much later on, we will see things a lot more complicated than this. So let's take it piece by piece. So the first letter that you see is the letter Sa. Again, no modifications, no vowel markings added to it. So we just write Sa as is. The second character you see is a consonant cluster. You see the letter Nga in the top and Ka below to get Nka. Nka. But there's a long E symbol to the right of this letter. So it's actually Nki. Nki. Next, you see that there's a letter Ta, but above the letter Ta, you see a hook that comes out from it. And that hook represents that it is the half letter form of Ra. So it's actually Rta. rta. Next is the letter na. No vowel markings there, so we can just write it as na. The next letter is ya. Again, there are no vowel markings on this, so we just write it as ya. And finally, the last letter is the special, peculiar letter that we learned in the last video. That is the letter gnya. No vowel markings there, so we just write it as gnya. Fortunately, with this complicated word, there are no anusvaras or visargas. So if you read this word correctly, you should read it as Sankirtana Yajna. Sankirtana Yajna. This means the sacrificial, congregational chanting the holy names. Yajna is a holy sacrifice, and Sankirtana, Sangha Kirtana. Sangha means congregation, and Kirtana means the chanting of the holy names. So now we are at the point where we can read and write anything in classical Sanskrit. So just to make sure you're up to par, let's take a quiz. In the next video, we'll go over the answers to the quiz. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below or contact me via kksongs.org. I look forward to meeting you next week when we discuss some unique letters that are not part of Sanskrit or part of Vedic Sanskrit in the next lesson. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.